Older victims and survivors can be the most powerful speakers in terms of engaging the hearts and minds of an audience. So when that's an option, I think it can be so important for an audience to hear and see an older victim speak about his or her experience. That said, I think we want to use some caution. Not all older victims are going to want to share their story publicly. Not all older victims should share their story publicly. There are safety concerns to consider with not only the perpetrator, but often older victims have adult children in common with their perpetrator and other family members, and who might react negatively to hearing information being presented about their family, their private family matter, or a narrative that doesn't match their own experience with that abuser. So I think it's important to think through, are there any safety considerations? How is this person doing emotionally? The victims that I have worked with that have presented publicly have talked about wanting to make sure that it doesn't happen for other older victims, that they felt so alone that they want to be sure that there's a face out there that other older adults can see, and maybe they will get help as a result of that. So if you find someone like that who is wanting to share their story, I think it's really important to spend a lot of time up front prepping, checking how they're doing, how comfortable they are with public speaking, maybe helping tailor the story. As we know, often these presentations are time limited. You have 5 minutes or 7 minutes on a panel, not 20 or 30. So helping them sort of tease out parts of their story that might reach a particular audience in a way. Being with them when they are there the day of the presentation, being completely prepared if they don't show up, which has happened to me a number of times, health issues, family issues, or they simply have decided it's not a good fit for them, so always have a plan B. But then making sure, do they have the transportation they need? Do they have everything to make them comfortable while they're at the training? And then being there with them immediately after if they need anything, and checking in a few days after. I know I worked with an older victim who I asked to present a number of times and had done many, many presentations. And I remember doing a presentation with her where I checked in what I thought was going to be briefly after the end, because she'd done this so many times before. And that particular presentation was on an anniversary and particularly emotional for her. And we sat for an hour where she shook and cried, and a lot of stuff had come back up. And as I said, we had worked together for a very long time. So it's important to be available for that prep on site, and then double checking after that things are okay and is any additional support needed.
Oftentimes when the invitations for speaking come into an agency, they want to talk to a victim. Sometimes those invitations worry me because I don't want the victim to be set up. I don't want the victim to be put on display. I want it to be authentic and genuine, and it would be a matter of someone first saying, I would like to share my story, or the agency saying, you have a valuable story to tell. Would you like us to find ways that you can do that? I would also hope that an advocate would go with that person so that they could be a buffer if the audience is a little too harsh or victim blaming, or asking questions that are beyond the scope of what that individual knows. For example, the systems in that community, or how law enforcement responds, or some of the questions that might be beyond what the victim's experience is. And then again, the first and foremost, you want to ensure that victims' safety and at times confidentiality.
I can offer a great resource that the National Resource Center on Domestic Violence produced in multiple languages. It's called From the Front of the Room. It's an advocate's guide to help survivors prepare to tell their stories and to be involved in public awareness events. Older survivors may need more time to tell their story. They may tell it in a different way. They may organize the information in a different way. That issues related to their access to the space in which the training or the event is occurring, really need to make sure that, check that out ahead of time. Not that shouldn't be a source of tension right before someone is being asked to tell their story. So these are all, and there's some other sections, but these are all thoughtful suggestions for advocates who are working with a survivor or thinking of asking an older survivor to tell their story.